Don't you speak to your father? Because he made me pay rent to live in my childhood bedroom when I was 12 years old. It started 3 months after my mom died. Dad called me into the kitchen and slid a piece of paper across the table. Lease agreement, he said. Your room is $200 a month plus $50 for utilities and $30 for food privileges. I stared at him, confused. I was 12. I had $23 in my piggy bank. Mom's not here to baby you anymore, he said coldly. Time to learn how the real world works. First payments due Friday. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. When Friday came and I had no money, Dad stripped my bed and took my mattress. No rent, no bed, he said. I slept on the hardwood floor for a week until I figured out how to make money. I started small, cleaning Mrs. Peterson's house for $20, babysitting the Miller twins for $15 an hour. Every penny went straight to Dad. If I was even $1 short, there were consequences. Miss rent, sleep on the floor, can't pay utilities, cold showers only, behind on food fees. He'd literally padlock the refrigerator. By 13, I had a full schedule. After school, cleaning houses, weekends, babysitting, yard work, dog walking. I sold my bike, my Nintendo, every birthday gift I'd ever gotten. Other kids were playing soccer. I was scrubbing toilets to afford living in my childhood home. Dad treated me like a tenant, not his daughter. He'd leave itemized bills under my door. Electricity usage in your room, $47.33. Water usage, $23.67. Late fee for paying rent 2 days late, $25. He charged me for everything. Toilet paper, soap, even using the washing machine. The worst part? He acted like he was doing me a favor. Teaching you responsibility, he'd say. You'll thank me when you're older and know how to budget. I had no friends. How could I explain that I couldn't hang out because I needed to work to pay my dad rent? Teachers started noticing I was exhausted, falling asleep in class. I told them I had a job, which technically wasn't a lie. When I turned 15, I was making about $800 a month from various jobs. Dad raised my rent to $350. Market rate adjustment, he called it. The breaking point came that winter when I got pneumonia. I was burning with fever, could barely stand, but Dad didn't care. I missed a week of work and couldn't make rent. He handed me an eviction notice, an actual legal document he'd printed from the internet. 48 hours to pay or you're out, he said. I don't care if you're sick. Landlords don't care about your problems. I was 15, delirious with fever, and my father was ready to make me homeless. That's when Mrs. Chen next door found me crying on the porch, clutching the eviction notice. She'd been watching this whole situation for 3 years, but didn't realize how bad it was. Honey, what's wrong? She asked. I showed her the paper. Her face went white. He's charging you rent? You're a child. She called child services immediately. When the social worker arrived 2 hours later, Dad was confident he could explain everything. Teaching responsibility, he told her. Life skills. She needs to understand how the world works. The worker nodded politely, then asked to see my room. Dad's face changed. He started stammering, making excuses. Turns out he'd been renting my room to a college student named Brad for the past 6 months. While I was sleeping in the garage with pneumonia, Brad was living in my childhood bedroom, paying Dad $400 a month. Dad had been collecting double rent from me and from Brad for my own room. The social worker was horrified. She found my lease agreements, the itemized bills, bank statements showing 3 years of payments from a child to her father. Dad had collected over $8,000 from me since Mom died. Charging your minor child rent is financial abuse, she said. This is exploitation. Dad tried to backtrack. It was just to teach her, you've been stealing from your daughter for 3 years. The worker cut him off. I was removed that day and went to live with my Aunt Sarah, who had no idea what was happening. When she learned the truth, she cried. She couldn't believe I'd never had an allowance, never gotten spending money for good grades. You were paying your father to exist in your own home, she said, holding me while I sobbed. Dad lost custody and had to pay back every penny. The money went into a trust fund I couldn't touch until 18. That was 8 years ago. I'm 23 now, married, with my own apartment that I actually choose to pay rent for, and I haven't spoken to him since.